I learned how politics works years ago, and I was probably, I don't know, 20, 19, something like that. And the professor was an expert in the Chicago machine, political uh, system and how it worked. And hilarious enough, he was teaching a foreign policy class when I was at the Circle campus, which is a commuter school University of Illinois runs after I got in there as I worked my way up from junior college. And you've got this, he was probably in his 80s and hilarious. And he's talking about the Chicago machine and he's teaching foreign policy. I'm like, what is going on here? And because he's a tenured professor, he can do whatever he wants. It was the best class. It was one of the best classes I've ever taken. They had other people were like, "Is this foreign policy 302?" It was like, "Yep." Why are you talking about Chicago? So he had a book, and I think it was called Politics Among Nations, and he assigned us this book, and I read the book, and I was like, "Yep, that's it, got it." Um, and the basic idea is, what happens when there's three people? When you got two, they either get along, they run away, or they kill each other. One kills the other, maybe they both die. When you have three, now you have politics. Well, that's still true. I don't think these things change that much. So I'm thinking, what are the politics of liberation mechanics? What are the politics of liberation mechanics? Because it's not three people, it's a lot more than three people that are finding their own way, deciding what's right for me is what's right for me. And nobody knows the answer for me, and I don't know the answer for anybody else. And my vision expands as I lean deeper into it and stop listening to what other people tell me is right and what to do and start listening to myself. So, what are the politics of that? And what side knows the truth? And I think the answer is obvious. It is that my job becomes one of not picking sides inside myself. I can't avoid that in the world because people aren't going to change that. It's not going to change. The mind is going to project a belief into the world based on a division of this is the side I don't like this side, and I want you to like my side. And now I'm going to figure out how to get you to like it. And that's not going to change. I'd be insane if I thought I could change that because that's how the mind works. I'm not going to change how the mind works. I can't eliminate the politics in the world. Nobody can. So the politics of liberation mechanics is to identify the sides I create in my own mind and realize why and free myself from my own internal confusion. Which side knows the truth? What side knows the truth? The truth inside me emerges when I'm no longer debating inside my own mind. I thought, oh, well, that works. And it's simpler than I thought. So, as this idea of liberation mechanics works, and I see it everywhere around me, everywhere, and I have my whole life, I just didn't understand how to understand it myself because I kept getting caught in sides, the thinking about sides. And as vision oriented entrepreneurs, liberation mechanics, make an impact and succeed, it is impossible for sides to form, fight, or conflict. It can't happen because those are opposites that can't come together. If I am truly at my core vision oriented, that means I'm connected into a creative idea that I am turning into a business as an entrepreneur, willing to take a risk, which is usually, for me at least, considerable, and without alternative, as I'm completely and utterly and have always been unemployable. So it's got to work. And because I can't compromise, I can't take money from people who can control me, tell me what to do, or ask me how it's going. You can ask me how it's going, but if I have to listen to you, I failed because I took money from someone who now has control over me and I lost control of my vision. If I'm going to live that way, it takes courage and it takes learning how to do things that allow me to become invincible. And part of invincibility is to know what my vision is and exist in it all the time. The deeper I get into my vision, meaning the world I want to live in and what that company is for me and the people that I want to connect with in the form of some sort of business relationship on my terms that works for them as well, equally well for them, equally well for me, equally well for them. So we come together. Eliminates politics. There is no divide within the business when it's created in this way. The divide comes later. And liberation mechanics politics is about eliminating the divide because it's going to happen. And I'm thinking about in my own life when it has happened. And it usually happens, I would observe in society when somebody shows up that doesn't care. And that creates an immediate divide within the company because there's a hidden agenda. Politics is always a hidden agenda. So you got three. Now, this is just the simplicity, trying to reduce the fraction to 1/2 or 1/3 or 1/4 and make it simple. This is what I learned about politics from an 80-year-old man who was an expert in power and the Chicago machine and how it worked and how a king functions. Chicago had a king that owned the back then. It's different now. That owned the legislature. It was called the city council. And a bunch of little mini mayors running around called aldermen that worked for the king, who had what were called committee men that worked for the aldermen that made sure that everybody voted for the king or their garbage didn't get taken out, picked up by the city. They had that thing dialed in, and this old man explained to us, and I'm like, okay, this was foreign policy 302. Didn't seem that way to the kid who needed to fulfill the requirement, but he taught me how power politics works because it's the same everywhere. Half, a third, or a quarter fraction. How do I reduce to a first principle so I can understand this better? And it is that if I allow people into my life that have a hidden agenda, they will undermine me. Who allowed him in? I did. Why? Why does anybody allow anybody in to do something for any reason? It's either I want to be with you, we share a desire in this vision, you want to be a part of it, I want you to be a part of it, or I want something from you, like money or skills or support or popularity, or I want to be on your stage so I can get popular. And I thought the best way for me to avoid politics in liberation mechanics is to say no to all of that and opt out. And that felt right. And to realize as long as I exist in the vision, I'm fine. And there isn't a problem to worry about. And the money, the resources, and the people tend to show up at the right time because other people have their own vision and we're looking for each other to do things together. As long as I'm in my vision and they're in their vision, we find each other online and in person. But for me, mostly it's been global and it's been virtual starting around, I don't know when that started, 2012, 2014. I can't even remember anymore. It's been so long. Uh, and I know a lot of you have seen the same thing. In this global interconnected world, it's easy to find your people. We can find each other. The barrier is if you're not being yourself, because then nobody knows what you want or think or what your hidden agenda is. And I thought, what if more and more people didn't have a hidden agenda and communicated from the standpoint of not celebrity, not compromise, not trying to get people to think or do or give a certain thing back to them that they want, but rather decide for themselves that I'm going to live my life my way, period. And no longer be concerned with explaining what's true, what's real, or what I care about to anybody else because it doesn't make any difference. And to get deeper and deeper into that was very, very difficult. It required a leap of confidence. And getting into that clarity a couple of years ago, and then getting into confidence of saying, man, I hope this works because I'm going to run out of money if it doesn't. And take the leap. That's an entrepreneur. You take a risk. You have to take a risk. If there's no risk, it's not an entrepreneur venture. And if there's no vision, I don't see how it could be an entrepreneur venture either. And there has to be a company or it's not an entrepreneur venture. And I looked up the definition of the word entrepreneur multiple times. I've been thinking about it for 2 years and I'm trying to figure out what is an entrepreneur. And the dictionary is usually pretty close. And it's this idea of vision, company, and risk. And that's it. If I decide that that little idea is real of that world I want to live in, my success is inevitable. It is impossible to stop that. No one can stop it. I can stop it by creating a divide within myself. That's how I screw up my vision. I create a divide within myself. I do it all the time. And that means that I'm creating the politics. I've decided, for example, not that I have, I'm saying there was a moment where I did, where I decided, no, I can't go to networking events anymore. I can't use marketing approaches anymore. No, I can't um, go on people's podcasts anymore. And those are like inviolable truths. That's just not true. I figured that out. It's that I don't want to anymore. Other people love it. And this is what's great about having a co-founder and a team of founding members, 12, is we got it all covered. I thought, wow, that's different for me. I do everything by myself, and then I bring in people. I do all the jobs, figure it all out, and then I start bringing in people and start offloading, offloading, offloading until I'm worked my way out. That was my model for years. I'm not doing it that way anymore. I am, but I'm using what I learned in a new way. Now it's about the group without any money to pay them, and figuring out how do we take all of these people, liberation mechanics, meaning people want to do something original in their own life and create their life their way and are willing to do it, take the risk. There has to be a risk. And to do it from vision, meaning it's creative, it's my thing. I'm not copying somebody. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Liberation mechanics together. You can't stop it. It's impossible. People are going to try to stop you. But what they're really doing, and I know this now, and this was very hard for me to get to, they're trying to stop themselves. They're projecting onto me whatever it is they're thinking about doing or noticing in a half-baked way about what I'm doing or saying because they're not paying attention, or they can't pay attention to themselves, so they don't understand what I'm saying. And they think it's a con or a scam or whatever the thing is that they're, oh, you're marketing. Now we're marketing to each other. And I'm like, I'm not marketing to you at all. But you think I am. So for you, I am. I'm not going to argue that. That was the big insight. It's like, that took me so long to figure that out. The politics, what side knows the truth? I don't know their truth. So for me to say, oh, you shouldn't network, you shouldn't do podcast. No, that's totally wrong. You shouldn't market. No. And it's not even what I'm saying. It was my own inner confusion of thinking, wow, I figured out a way to do this differently. And I like it this way. And Brian's like, I love networking. I'm like, awesome. You're going to do it. So I don't have to do that anymore. I've been doing it forever. Enough years. Like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Oh my God. He's like, but I want to do it my way. Of course. Great. You're going to do the networking. Now I don't have to do that anymore. And I can focus on what I want to do. Now multiply that by 12. I'm like, we're on to something here. The power of the group. Chicago Machine was a group run by a king. And so were the powerful societies that were studied in politics among nations. And I don't want to be a king. I don't even want to be in charge. So what is a new mode of leadership? What is a new mode of working together? And I think the new mode is everybody gets what they want. That's the mode. Everybody gets what they want. I don't know the right answer for another person. You don't know the right answer for me. My vision, your vision comes together around a shared desire because we're aligning up, going in the same direction our own way. I'm like, how could it be that simple? It is that simple. It's that simple. And I'm proving it. And I'm proving to myself first. Back in 2018, I thought, I want a business where I don't have to have any clients that I don't want to work with. I want a business where I can say no to anything. And I want a business 2018, I already had a business. And I want a business where I don't have to think about money. And of course, like most of us, the solution is always get enough money so I can have that business. So that's where I went, like everyone else I see. Let me just get enough money. And then I got there. It doesn't work like that. And I know that's true. Most of us know that's true, but we still do it anyways. So I had to break that cycle. That was not easy. And without Brian, without Louisa, without Wendy, and some other people as well, without Judy, and some of I'm not going to go through all the names. I'm just talking about the people in our current group. Couldn't have broken that cycle inside me, that division cycle around. I don't care about money. I never have, ever. Back since I was 5, I never cared about winning. None of it. Never cared. Didn't care about business. None of it. Didn't want to be an entrepreneur. Didn't care. I wanted to explore ideas, do what I wanted, and have adventures. And that's what I got. That's the life I've got. And to turn that into a business that works uh, is a privilege. And it feels like a privilege. Uh, the fact that it's the hardest thing I've ever done and am currently doing feels good. And I can handle hard. And I think that's a moment, at least for me, and maybe for you as well, when you're doing something on your own pathway where you realize, I realized I like hard. What I want it to now is easier. So I want to drive the boat into a storm at night with a crew on deck. I want to do that. However, I don't want to tell the crew what to do. I don't want to coordinate and organize it. I don't want to make sure the technology works properly. I don't want to be in all the weeds and details of everything, even though I have been in the nooks and crannies and cornies of everything that happens on a racing sailboat. But I will never be good at that level at doing any of those things. But I can drive the boat into the storm at night. That I can do. And understand what's going on around me, but not well enough to make the right decisions even fast enough. As I realize that when I know myself, what I want and what I'm great at, I can create the best product in the world. And that's what I always wanted. I can't think of a time where that's not what I wanted. Best product in the world. And I have it right now. And this year was about arrival. And it wasn't arriving, it was arrival. That was my word for this year. Next year, the word is liberation. What happens after arrival? What's next? And I'm like, what's the black swan? I'm always thinking this. What's next? What is the black swan? What's a black swan? It's the most obvious thing in the world. And when it happens, everybody looks and says, oh, of course. We're right there. We're right there. And the black swan, to me, is best product wins. It's the Field of Dreams, sells tickets. And it's that the society evolves out of this confusion around divisions that aren't real. That's the black swan. And I've known this for at least 2 years, and I've been writing about it for 2 years. I just didn't know how to explain it to myself. So I couldn't explain it to anybody else, but I tried anyways. But I couldn't figure out how to explain it. But it looks so obvious now. And I know when I talk to people in our groups, they're like, "Yeah, I know. See it the same as you do." But you don't, and I don't, because we see it differently. That's the whole point. That's the whole point is the rise of the connected individual. You could look at it like that. My word is liberation mechanics. Um, the flexible founder mode is a way of being, thinking, and doing. The more money now approach is how to connect into the market to get product market fit in a way that works for everyone involved. So there's a permanent solution. So I don't have to keep changing what I'm doing all the time. So I actually, for the first time in my life, get to build a company I want to work in, not leave. First time. Actually want to work in my own company. This is the first time this has happened. I always want to leave when I'm done. I don't want to leave. I created a role for myself in my own company for the first time in my life. I didn't have to take money from anybody and give up control, which would have ruined everything. Would have ruined it. And the red pill pathway, it's simple. It's 8 stages of thinking, action, and impact. And that leads towards making the decision, knowing how it works, knowing the blueprint, figuring out where to bring that into the market, how to create the engagement and the experiences, make money. What is that product? How does it emerge from that vision? And how do I take those actions every day when it's hard with teams of peers, partners, and mentors in a market consistently? And then from there, market authority planning to become a market authority because you're an expert. Best product wins. That's simply done through telling the truth and saying, this is what I did, see, am doing. You want to join me? Here's my experiences. And this is how I'm engaging. A different way of thinking about know, like, and trust. It's not about getting you to know, like, and trust me. Who cares? It's about helping you get to know, like, and trust yourself. If I help people get to know, like, and trust themselves and give them the best possible experience to have where everyone can come. What more is there? There isn't anything more. What am I going to get outside of myself that can substitute for that? That's when politics ends, when the inner game is won. Win the inner game, and you no longer have to play politics. Let them play politics around you. Let them project onto you their own issues. It's got nothing to do with me, and it has nothing to do with you. That's about them. And know that it is possible for any human being on this planet to fulfill their destiny. by simply making the decision that I'm going to figure out what it is and I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter what. And no matter how hard it is to keep moving forward to make the impact I want to make and create the life that I want to create without compromising and doing it on my own terms.